Good afternoon, evening, depending on where you're at. Welcome to week 4 in CE 155. Chef Suzanne and I welcome you to another fine live session. And what a great live session it's going to be tonight. We are getting into the heart of the house, where we all dream and fantasize about spending our time. We're going to learn how to put that together now from a very professional standpoint. Great job on week 3. I think Chef Suzanne probably has some information to share about your front of the house and the mood board and all of that good stuff, which I know is her favorite part of the favorite part of seeing inside somebody's head. And it's just great to acknowledge that the more that you get your ideas out and on paper and allow people to visualize them and understand them, the more successful your idea is going to morph itself into. So good job, everybody, getting the idea. Chef Suzanne, feedback on week 3.
Well, you took the words out of my mouth, at least on some of that. Week 3 is my favorite. I love the mood board. And I feel like this is when it all starts falling into place, especially for folks that really are very serious about opening their own business. This is kind of where it kicks into the mindset of, I think I finally know what I want. And then they start researching and putting it on there. And those that aren't for sure or maybe looking at more of the management side, I think next week is where that kicks in a little bit more. But the assignments were great this week. I think if there was one thing that people missed, it's trash cans. And they aren't necessarily a requirement, but if you've got a server area or a bar, you definitely need trash cans by those things in your front of house or the bus areas. But in general, I think they did a really nice job. I had folks changing the size of the dining room, also adding in little half walls and things to put in those server and bus areas. Saw some great images of, in particular, restaurants. I don't even know if I even saw any food trucks this week, which I thought was unusual. So I think this group is more restaurateurs than food truckers. So saw a lot of those. And so in lining them up with their concept summaries, they did a really nice job with that too. So I was pretty impressed this week.
That's awesome. I love hearing that. I do want to touch on something. If anyone has any concerns or does not understand how to work these spreadsheets, make sure you reach out and you give us a call. We are here to help you succeed. So I know some of these spreadsheets might be a little new for some of you, or working on a computer might be a little bit new. We understand that, and we're going to do everything we can to guide you through it properly. So don't miss your assignment because you don't understand it. Pick up the phone, send me a text. If you can't get a hold of me, ask Chef Suzanne. She's Johnny on the spot as well. And we're both here to help you succeed. So certainly take advantage of that opportunity.
And I should have mentioned that too, Chef, that I sent out, if you haven't checked your email, make sure you're all checking your email or your messages. I sent out a couple of videos, one on how to submit the assignment, because there was a little bit of confusion, because this one's, I mean, it's the same principle, but because you're not sending in a narrative sheet, you're having to send a facility layout tool. It's a little different. So some folks are a little confused. So I sent a video on how to do that. But then I also sent a more detailed video on how to do this week's assignment on what you needed in, or week 3 anyway. And I'm going to do it again for week 4. So so keep an eye on your messages. I'm going to send you these videos that I think will help quite a bit.
Yep, absolutely. Those are wonderful videos that Chef Suzanne put together. I watched them and I enjoyed them. So I think they're going to be helpful tools. We talked about this during week 1 as well at our very first live session. Amy made me think about this. She was talking about it earlier. She's in the commercial kitchen now, and she was talking about all the different stations she's working. By the time you get done with this class, all of you are going to have different mentalities about how that equipment should be arranged. And at some point in time in your culinary career, you're going to assist or make the decision or build your own on how to put these restaurants together. And this class is the class that gives you the tools and the ability to make those decisions. So I'm sure, Amy, I don't know if you want to share, but Amy was talking about her new position, which I think is awesome. And Amy, are you thinking about moving any of the equipment or to make things easier for yourself or more efficient?
Chef, like I said, I had started the job about 3 months ago, and I already did talk to my kitchen manager, and I'm like, well, can I do this or can I do that? Recently, they've got me on what they call Bread Girl. I've been doing cornbread, and I've never done cornbread 36 years of my life. So I've been doing cornbread for the last 4 weeks, and she's like, my kitchen managers said, make it your own. If you don't, they gave me the instructions how to do it, how to make it, and simple explanatory with the ingredients. And then they said, well, put it in there 15 minutes and watch it. And then, I kept burning it and I kept overcooking it and undercooking it. And she said, well, do it the way you feel is necessary. And so I lower the temperature each week that I do it. I've come to a point where instead of doing it at the temperature I was given, I dropped it down to about 25 degrees, and I've increased the time so it's not so dark.
So you're thinking like a chef already.
Well, she said make it your own, and so I did. I didn't like the way it looked. I mean, the ingredients I have to because it's.
Are you thinking about your environment at all?
Yeah, actually, I have moved, quite a bit of things, little things, not like station-wise, but I moved quite a little bit of things, like where I put things, or like some of the
I think that's how it starts, Amy. So you start by moving some tongs and ladles, and then the next thing, your managers are going to come in and they'll be like, "Where's the toaster?"
It's a progressive disease, Amy.
I got my own drawer, my own little drawer, and I'm like, okay, well, I need to put this in that drawer, and that has to go in this drawer. And then I'm like, okay, well, let me move the bread cart out because I don't like where the bread cart is.
Well, you've got the bug, Amy. So thank you so much for sharing. I appreciate those comments. That's awesome.
Yes, sir.
We have a busy night here in CE 155. So we want to get started on our slides. We have a lot of information to share. We're going to be talking about the back of the house. You're going to be laying out your own kitchen this week. We're going to talk about different types of equipment. We're going to take a look at some different kitchens to get you started and get those wheels turning. So let's take a look at our weekly announcements. Please remember the importance of the live sessions in this class. If you can attend, which we understand because people have work and other responsibilities as well in life, make sure that you are watching the live session archive. Week 6 assignments will be due that Sunday of that week. That will be here before you know it. So make sure that you stay on top of it. Do not call us on Monday morning and say, hey, I had a problem. No, you need to get ahead of the curve now. We announced this last week as well, and we'll announce it next week and the following week as well. So please be prepared for week 6. Our traditional due date is on Tuesdays. It is 2 days earlier on Sunday on week 6. If you have missed any assignments, make sure you get them in now. Please do not wait till the last minute. It puts a big burden on Chef Suzanne, and it's difficult to create the time to make the adjustment to get those things fixed to bring your grade up. So make sure that you set some time aside. If you have several assignments that you need to submit, contact me. We'll work something out. We'll create a plan to help you get all your assignments in. We're going to take care of you, but we have to be able to hear from you. And most importantly, if you need help to pass this class, make sure you reach out. You contact me. You contact Chef Suzanne. Let's work something out. Let's help you. That's what we're here for. So please make sure that you understand that. Does anybody have any questions about that? No? Let's take a look at week 4. See what's on the docket this week. Once again, make sure you read your research materials. There are some questions in there. If you answer them, that does post attendance, and you know how we work on attendance here. Thank you very much for attending the live session, everybody. And if you're not here, make sure you watch the live session archive. And then our assignment this week is the kitchen layout. And just in case we forget to mention this later on in the live session, at the very bottom of the class page on the assignment, there is a back of the house example that is there for you to refer to throughout the remainder of this week. Start early, finish early, submit by Saturday, get her done. Yeah. If you chip away at it, it's a lot easier than sitting down trying to eat the whole elephant all at once. Take small bites and you'll get it done very quickly. Any advice on that department, Chef Suzanne?
I have to agree with that. And week 4 isn't a whole lot different than week 3. It's the same kind. Actually, there's no mood board. There's no seating worksheet. It's all focused on the back of the house. So if you are able to maneuver using the facility layout tool, this is actually a little bit easier because there isn't as much to do. It's just the back of the house. You don't have to worry about pictures and all that kind of stuff. But I would agree with Chef. Start it early because you may go back at it. You may start it, tonight and then not finish it and then look at it tomorrow and go, oh, I don't even have a cooler there. Yeah. What was I thinking? I need a cooler there. So you'll notice some issues that you may have or things you may have forgotten. So yes, start on it. Keep checking it.
You don't bake the bread when the customer orders it. You bake it before they order it, so it's ready when they want it. And you need to get yourself in that mentality. All right, ladies and gents, we are moving on to the kitchen, the heart of the house, like we like to say. The acronym is BOH, and that stands for back of the house. And you'll hear BOH quite a bit. You'll also hear FOH quite a bit, which is front of the house. Let's talk about some statistics here with kitchens. The average kitchen size in the United States is about 1,051 square feet. And that's a pretty good sized kitchen. A lot of people like to design themselves in a larger kitchen. However, the larger the kitchen, the bigger the mess, the bigger the utility bills, and the more work it requires. So keep that in mind when you're designing your kitchen. And let's take a look at the next one. The standard formula for determining kitchen size is 5 square feet per dining seat. So if you have a little 50-seat restaurant, you're going to want about 250 square feet. If it's 100, then you're going to want to have a 500 square foot kitchen. So remember that you are paying rent or owning the entire restaurant. So every square inch counts. Do not bite off more than you can chew. And also be realistic as to what you need. You all have created concepts. You've all created menus. You've talked about your front of the house. You realize what your business needs. Don't put in this week's assignment what you want. Put in this week's assignment what your business needs. And that's what we are working on. And that's a very difficult separation to make. So try to focus on that. And then determine your menu first this week, which you've already done. And then choose the equipment that you need to prepare those menu items. So, for example, if you don't have a bakery, don't buy a deck oven, okay? If you have grilled steaks on your menu, buy a grill, right? So Chef Suzanne's going to be very particular about taking a look at the equipment that you choose to put into your kitchen this week. Just make sure it all makes sense. Every square inch of your kitchen and every piece of kitchen equipment that you purchase has to have a use, right? So a lot of restaurateurs get a little bit carried away with that, and you end up with a lot of stuff you don't need. So be careful. The average cost of a restaurant kitchen in the United States is right around $250 per square foot. And that generally does not include the price of a kitchen or kitchen equipment, because kitchens require very special floors that we're going to talk about. They require ventilation hood systems that are about $1,000 per square feet. Plumbing, gas lines, and electrical requirements are pretty extensive in restaurants as well. So the average cost is right around $250 per square foot. So the average cost of a restaurant kitchen in the United States is right around $250,000 plus equipment. So it is not inexpensive. Any questions, anyone? No, we all good? All right, ladies and gentlemen.
Amy has a question in the box. about dining area and kitchen space. If there's
Uh-huh.
a separate party room, would you include those too?
Yes. And the reason you want to include the additional dining space, if it's a private room, you're looking at needed additional plate up space. And generally that equates to 6-foot tables and plenty of space to lay your product out and work. Because when you're feeding 24 people at the same time, you want to be able to plate 24 people at the same time and serve them at the same time. So I would say yes. All right, ladies and gents, let's move on and talk about the essential parts to the kitchen. These are primarily the things that we're going to be looking for this week as far as areas in your kitchen. Chef Suzanne might have 1 or 2 things to add into this. Backdoor employee entrance. That area is where we receive our products, our goods, and that's also the area that we take the trash out of. You don't want to be going out through the dining room with the trash cans. It just creates a negative stigmatism, and that's also serves as an employee entrance. Storage, you're going to want to have a walk-in and other refrigeration, which we'll talk about here in a moment. Dry storage and chemical storage. Prep areas are very, very essential in kitchens. We don't prepare everything on our hotline. We prepare a lot of stuff in the what we call the back side of the kitchen or the prep area. Make sure that you allot that space. Your dish area should have triple sinks, a dish machine, smallware storage, and a hand sink. Very, very important to have a very effectively designed dish area. It can be a total disaster if you don't do it properly. You have to remember 100 people equates to about 600 pieces of dishes, okay? By the time you get done with knives, forks, water glass, wine glass, coffee cup, entree plate, salad plate, dessert plate, that's a lot of dishes for 100 people. And if you're turning your dining room twice, that's 200 covers per night. That's about 1,200 pieces of smallwares that you have going through your machine, plus all the stuff to wash that you cook for it. I've seen people try to cut corners on kitchens, dish areas before. It's not good. So Chef Suzanne's going, yep, you're right. That can get messy. So
If you're going to cut a corner, the dish area is not the place to do it in ever.
nope.
I've worked at more than one place where they had no dish machine, just 3-compartment sink. And then they've got to try and figure out, they thought they were, well, we'll save $10, $20, $50,000. We don't have to put in a dish area and dish machine. And then all of a sudden they're trying to figure out where to put in a dish machine and a dish area and where to come up with the money to do it.
Yep.
So don't do that. Don't be that person.
Digging through a foundation is not fun. Yes. And then you'll need to have a hotline, and that's where your cooking equipment is going to go. Hotline in the restaurant industry is where we prepare or do our final preparation for our dishes before we serve them to a customer. The prep area is where we'll do all of our pre-prep. We'll braise our meats, we'll slice our vegetables, we'll cut our lettuces, we'll bake our breads, all that kind of stuff, prepare our salad dressings. All of that happens in the prep area. And then when we get orders for the product, it'll come off the hotline. And that's where we have our cooking equipment. Refrigeration is critical up there. Got to remember to have a place for your plates, heat lamps, window, and hand sink. And when we refer to a window in the kitchen, we're not talking about that pretty little, window that you look out, a French door, where it's a small area on the hotline where you put the food into, and that is called the window. And we'll show that to you here in just a few moments. Garde-manger, pantry area for your cold foods. Make sure you have refrigeration, a window, and a hand sink in that area. You also have to have a hand sink on your hotline, your dish area, your prep sink. So hand sinks are critical in the restaurant industry, and the local authorities will make sure that you understand that. The service area is critical. Beverage equipment, ice machine, register system. POS stands for point of sale system. Your register system is where your servers will be working, and they need a hand sink as well. Be very conscientious when you go to design your kitchen this week. Servers, we love servers. They accommodate the guest, and they bring us revenue. However, we don't like them in the kitchen. because they can block very critical pathways. They can cause accidents, everything else. They get dirty and go back out in the dining room. So you want to make sure that you have clear and concise path for the servers to follow. So make sure that that service area is kept up front near the entrance to the kitchen. Very, very important. And as restaurant owners, we always get the nicest office, don't we, Chef Suzanne? Or let me rephrase the question, Chef Suzanne. What's been your favorite broom closet that you've worked out of?
Actually, the last place I worked, it was the it was the room that had all the electrical boxes, and on one side, and then the other side actually was where they stored all the liquor. So it was kind of cool because my office had all the alcohol in it, but at the end of the day, there was these really scary looking giant electric boxes on the wall, and it was super tiny, and it was, yeah. It's nice to actually have an office, but I've worked in many places where I didn't. You just find a corner and you stick a desk there.
So kitchen offices oftentimes are not the most luxurious. So if you got into this profession looking for that corner office on the 15th floor, might not happen. These are just some typical offices in here that we work with. Chef's offices are very busy with lots going on in there. Sticky notes everywhere is a very traditional thing that we work with because we have a lot going on in there. This presentation, by the way, is also on your class page. So if you miss anything that we're talking about tonight, when we get done with the live session, just go ahead and click on the button that says weekly presentation or week 4 presentation. It's all there. Let's take a look.
It's funny, Chef, that you talk about sticky notes, because once I discovered that your computer has sticky notes on it, I was looking when you just said that, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 8 sticky notes on my desktop right now.
I believe it.
I normally do have at least that many. So real sticky notes or computer sticky notes are everywhere.
Yep, Chef Suzanne and I talk quite a bit about prep list and making notes, and that's where it's all at, because once you become a chef, you're going to have a lot going on, and your head's going to be pretty full. So let's take a look at our prep area. The prep area should have plenty of table space. Your table space is where you're going to put your cutting boards, where you're going to be doing a lot of slicing and dicing and preparing all of your foods. So the prep area is where we prepare our salad dressings in bulk. We cook our potatoes in bulk, our bacon in bulk, all of these things, and then it eventually gets moved up to the hotline for the finishing work. And these are some examples of prep areas that are lined out. So as you're doing your kitchen, you can refer to these to make sure that they look similar in nature. Also be aware of the fact that you'll notice in all of these pictures, every square inch of space is taken advantage of. Restaurants are notorious for hanging things from the ceiling, storing things on the walls, because we pay rent on every square inch, so we like to use every square inch. Garde-manger, or your pantry, that'll be located towards the front next to your hotline, and that is where you're going to have some reach-in refrigerators, hand sink, garbage cans, all that kind of good stuff. This is a traditional prep table that you see in a lot of pantry areas, and this is what the top side looks. This is where you'll keep all of your mise en place to assemble salads, sandwiches, and other cold dishes. The dish area, once again, these are some pretty nice. The dish area oftentimes gets the name the dish pit. You'll hear that quite a bit. And this is where all the dishes. This is a standard single rack machine right here that'll wash one rack of dishes about every 90 seconds, depending on the settings on the machine. And then these are other pictures. This is a set of triple sinks in the dish area. Your dish area will need to have triple sinks. That's where we wash, rinse, and sanitize. We do not clean or vegetables or thaw meats in the triple sinks. That is a bad thing to do, and the health department frowns upon it. Your expo area This area is located near the front of the kitchen. We talked about the fact that the servers need a clear and concise area to go to and from the kitchen. So as the servers walk into the kitchen, immediately they will have their service area with their ice machine or hand sink or POS system, and directly in front of that area will be the expo area. A lot of restaurants have a chef that works as an expediter, as seen down here in this corner picture. The food will come up in this unit right here, and this is called a window. And this is a window over here, and this is a window as well. So you finish preparing the foods on the hot line, and then the chefs will put the food into the window. The expediter will make sure that the food is prepared correctly. The plates are wiped, everything looks good, and then he'll assemble it and send it out to the service staff. Any questions? Have I missed anything yet, Chef Suzanne?
Not yet. You're trucking right along, Chef.
Not yet. Not yet. We're going in a good direction then. All right. All right, ladies and gents. The hotline area. This is where all the adrenaline is pumping in the kitchen, because we are up there moving quick to get our product out fast and fresh. So your hotline area, this is an example of some of the different layouts that you can find in various restaurants. If you're still a little confused, you want to see other ones, I highly recommend taking a look on Google or searching on the internet. The more exposure you have to kitchen layout designs, the more efficient you're going to become. And the hotline will have a hood system up here. They all have them. It's a law in the United States, the hotline and the prep area. So traditionally, behind the hotline will be the prep area, because it can utilize the same hood system. So make sure you take note of that. There's broilers, there's 6 burners, there's flat tops, there's deep fryers, depending on what your menu setup is. So I cannot tell you specifically the exact equipment that you should be using. Dry storage is critical. You need to have a storage area in your kitchen for non-perishable goods. The racks in the storeroom need to be ventilated. So they're wire racks, they're not solid shelves that allow the air to flow so things don't mold. Everything must be sealed and labeled, and nothing can be on the floor. It is illegal to store foods on the floor in the United States, because you cannot clean the floor underneath, and critters like to hang out underneath there. So these are some examples of storerooms. You'll notice that nothing is touching the floor other than the shelving units in any of these pictures. All of the containers are sealed. This is a can rack down here in the corner. Yes, we have can racks to hold number 10 cans. And I love it when they all start rolling off the rack at the same time, when you don't pay attention and you take them too fast. And you'll learn about that part. But make sure that you do have some consideration for servers, because they will need a small section to put their condiments and other non-perishable items. Condiments in a dry storage for the service staff would be things like sweet and low sugar packets, Worcestershire sauce, A1 sauce, etc., things that they use to serve the customers. Any questions? Am I going too fast, Chef Suzanne? No? We're all good?
You are good. I've been watching. No questions so far. They are hanging on every word.
I love it. All right, ladies and gents, let's talk about kitchen floors. They're actually big business. We don't just put floors in the kitchen for aesthetic purposes. We don't just choose the prettiest pattern at Lowe's and then apply them. Sanitation is a major concern. You need to have a floor that's non-porous, that won't absorb any type of oil. Kitchen floors get themselves beat on a regular basis. Quarry tile is probably the most common type of tile. You have to remember that the kitchen floors get hot liquids, high foot traffic, carts, dishwashers attempting to mop them that don't mop them very well. And you also need to have pre-treated materials that limits microbial growth and infection in your floors as well. And the health department really likes that. And then you also need to be considerate about your culinary staff, because we stand for many hours at a time in that kitchen, and we like to have nice, comfortable surfaces. Most kitchens will have floor mats that prevent people from slipping and also provide comfort. So this slide is in there for you to read at a later time. Safety, a slip-resistant surface. So kitchen floors are also slip-proof theoretically. This is an example of this is the most common tile right here that's used. This is a painted surface, which is becoming very popular in a lot of kitchens. These tiles, these Cori tiles, have always been extremely popular because if one chips, it can just be taken out and replaced, versus a painted surface where you have to repaint an entire area. And oftentimes, it can be quite expensive. Everything needs to be at least 6 inches off the floor as well in the restaurant industry. That includes walk-ins, dry storage, dish area, hot line, prep line, garde, you name it, everything 6 inches off the floor. Kitchen walls, lighting, and plumbing are also a big subject. We cannot have any contact surface, plates, dishes, or foods in a sink that is directly plumbed into the line. It needs to have an air gap, meaning that the line has a break in it, just like in this picture right here, and the water flows into a basket. So this is probably a prep sink where we thaw meats out, wash lettuces. It has to have this air gap and flow into a basket. That is a law. The reason they do that, because if there is a backup in the sewer line, they don't want the sewage to flow back into the sinks. So triple sinks will be directly, or will have air gaps in them because you have dishes. You don't want those exposed to sewage, and your prep sinks as well. All lighting in the kitchen has to have shatterproof covers. If you have an employer that doesn't have shatterproof covers on their lights, you might want to suggest that they get them. Because if a light bulb is to burst in the kitchen and sprays glass, you ever have that happen, Chef Suzanne?
I have not. I've been very fortunate. I did work at a place where there was a leak in the hood vents. It was really windy and rainy, and the water came in through the hood vents and went into the covers for the lights. That is just, so it looked like a fishbowl, except for it was a light bulb. That was the scariest thing ever.
Ugh, that would scare the heck out of me.
It did. It was, I called the maintenance and I was like, so the light bulb covers are full of water and light bulb. Yeah.
I've had them shatter both fluorescent tubes and light bulbs, because you got to remember mop handles are really long, and you get someone tall like myself, and it's not pretty. So the health department's very concerned about that as well. Walls in kitchens are big business. We can't just paint walls. We just can't go to Home Depot and buy any kind of paint. Because that paint, it's a good possibility, will eventually peel off and get into the food. So we have certain paints that we can use, and all walls must have a clean, smooth, and cleanable surface that is non-porous to work with. The most common type of wall in a kitchen is called FMP, which is kind of it looks like almost like a plastic kind of board that they put over the walls in kitchens, and those are clean and scrubbable. So very, very important to remember that once you get into industry. Equipment, everybody. Let's talk about some different pieces of equipment here for the next few minutes that you're going to be utilizing in your weekly assignment. Walk-in coolers are exactly what they say they are. A walk-in cooler, you walk into it, there's storage racks in there. That's where you'll keep all of your produce, meats, dairy, et cetera, et cetera. Larger operations, I used to run a casino, and our walk-in was so large that they actually drove a forklift into it to load and unload pallets. So walk-in sizes greatly vary. Deep fryer, this is where you'll cook your everything from fried chicken to French fries. And I think it's a beautiful piece of equipment. Don't get water in them or drop a lighter into them either. That's bad. Somebody told me that. Convection ovens are used quite a bit in your prep areas. The convection ovens have fans in the back that circulate the air. This is a 6-burner range right here with a flat top. Flat tops are used to sear chicken breast or sometimes steaks, pancakes, French toast, a lot of breakfast cookery. And then these units traditionally have conventional ovens. Conventional ovens do not circulate the heat the way a convection oven does. The heat source is simply from the bottom. Salamander. A salamander unit is traditionally kept right on top of the 6-burner. So when you saute, you can put your saute pan directly into the salamander. Salamander was invented by Auguste Escoffier, and it heats from the top down. And it's great for melting cheese, au gratin items, or letting steaks rest. Floor mixer. Yes, we have very big mixers in the restaurant industry. We're all used to those little KitchenAid mixers. Not so much. This is probably a 40-quart unit right here. The bowl is so big, it's actually got wheels. And so consider that if you need it. Deck ovens are very popular for bakeries. If you're also, a lot of pizzerias will like to use the deck ovens as well. And this evening, we've talked a little bit about sinks, haven't we? We've mentioned a few things. So hand sinks are critical in the kitchen. We talked about all the essential areas to put your hand sinks. The health department will be checking that out. And so will Chef Suzanne when you submit your assignment. So let's take a look at what a hand sink looks like. A hand sink in industry must have side guards, just like this one does, right? Which prevents that splash when you're washing your hands from going all over the place. So this is what a hand sink looks like. They're generally fairly small, about 18 inches wide and about 18 inches deep. So yay big. They're not too big. They're traditionally mounted to the wall, and those will be directly plumbed to your sewage system. Triple sinks, once again, we talked about that. That's where you wash, rinse, and sanitize pots, pans, and other kitchen utensils. Prep tables are very important in the kitchen. In your prep area, sometimes they'll have these towards the front of the kitchen as well for expediters. Prep sinks are different than triple sinks, not only physically or aesthetically, but also functionality-wise. Prep sinks are where we thaw out large quantities of meat under cold running water. This is where we wash lettuces or other fruits and vegetables, and that's exactly what they are, prep sinks. Sometimes when you're in industry, you'll cook a 50-quart pot of stock, and we'll fill with those sinks with ice, and then we'll put the pot into the sink with ice to cool it down. So lots of applications. You're also going to have the choice of using a low boy refrigerator. These are really common on the hotline. Low boy refrigerators, the piece of equipment will sit on the top, and then these drawers slide open, and we'll keep our proteins in there or pastas in there or whatever we're working with on our menu. Storage racks, you can see how they're all ventilated. Nice racks there. Any questions about kitchen equipment so far? It's a different world, isn't it? All right, ladies and gents, our flat top griddle. This is what we talked about a minute ago. Great for breakfast cookery, for pancakes and French toast and all that kind of good stuff. Great way to sear if you're ever doing large parties as well. Tilt skillets is where we prepare large quantities of whether it be scrambled eggs, it could be stock, it could be soup. Great prep item to have. Reach-in cooler. This is a single door under counter reach-in cooler. You have the option of using one of these. And then this is a double door reach-in cooler right here. These units come in freezers or refrigerators or a 50-50 blend. The steam kettle, these come in various sizes. They can be huge, they can be small, depending on the quantity that you need and your production. We like to use these for soups quite a bit, or small quantities of stocks or cooking pasta. And then a grill or a char broiler. Very essential equipment. A couple other pieces of equipment to take a look at here quickly. Steam tables. There's a lot of restaurants that do what we call dish up food service, where they keep their prepared foods hot and warm in steam tables and then simply put it on the plate to serve it. Or in other restaurants, we use that to keep starches, veg, sauces. Most likely, you're going to want to have one of those on your hotline. A prep table, which we saw in a previous slide, a proof box right here. This is where we allow breads to leaven properly. It's a controlled temperature environment with a specific amount of humidity. Heat lamp, which goes in the kitchen window. This is what keeps the food warm after the cooks have prepared the dishes. Oh boy, are we here already? You want to talk? Let's answer Amy's question real quick.
That thing that you said was a proof box. In my restaurant, we have ones that are like probably half the size of them. What are they? They're like, we use them for catering. What are they called?
Those are, there's a couple of different names. One is a Queen Mary, but those are traditionally a little bit larger. Or they can be called a hot box, which is fairly common, or a proof box. These do come in half size and full size as well. Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir. We use them a lot.
Yeah, they're pretty common in restaurants. They can be your best friend, or they can be a nightmare when the sheet pan doesn't grip properly and the 200 pan of baked beans goes falling down to the bottom. Not that I've ever seen that happen. Somebody told me about it. Yeah. All right, ladies and gents, let's talk about this week's assignment right here. Chef Suzanne, stop me when I'm wrong. We're going to be referring to our facility layout tool. And this is basically the rubric, which we're going to get back to here in just a minute. But I do want to bring up the actual slide itself so we can learn how to work it. Let me get to that slide real quick.
While you are looking for that slide, I actually just thought of something that there is no pictures of on your presentation. I don't know why I never noticed this before. There's no trash cans.
Oh no, that's not good.
I know, right?
I know.
I know that's, it's funny because you're getting ready to bring all this up, and in reality, think, well, why do you have to plan an area for your trash can? Because you need so many of them.
Yes.
And they do take up floor space, and so planning those into your kitchen is crucial.
Yep.
So I don't know how that's literally never occurred to me, and all the times we've done this, there's no trash cans.
I'm so glad you caught that. In our last week 4 presentation forever.
Yeah, in forever. I just figured it out. Sorry.
But it's actually kind of the way it goes in industry. A lot of people forget things like hand sinks and garbage cans. And what happens as a result, you have to make very costly alterations to your kitchen. Hand sinks, if you don't put one in, you're looking upwards of $10,000 to have one installed by the time they get done going through your concrete, running plumbing, codes and permits and everything else. So make sure you design it right the first time. And then also trash cans. There's nothing worse than having a trash can in a high vehicular place. Next week, we get into operational flow, and you're going to learn that the placement of the trash can is critical, because if you have people walking back and forth all day by that one particular corner and you have to put a 50-gallon trash can right there, it's not good. So great point, Chef Suzanne. Thank you. All right, ladies and gents, restaurant layouts, slides 3 through 7. We're taking a look at week 4. This is your facility layout tool, the one that we started working with in week 1. Repeat the week 3 process for the back of the house. Week 3, we designed our front of the house using that slide, and we're going to be utilizing the same mentality with moving parts and moving pieces of equipment, which we will review here for your convenience here in just a moment. Equipment is provided in standard sizes. You may resize equipment, but you will need to prove that you can buy equipment in a non-standard size. You may also represent equipment not presented and size it yourself. Use labels for any custom equipment that you add. So make sure that Chef Suzanne is able to clearly and easily understand that piece of special equipment that you have installed. So we're going to go up and we're going to take a look at our slides. These are slides 3 and 4 is what we are working with. And if you are doing a food truck, the same instructions will apply, but your food truck is on slide 6. So please be conscientious of that. For right now, we're just going to work with slide 3. But remember, if you are doing a traditional restaurant, which would be a casual concept, fine dining restaurant, etc., you're going to use slide 3. If you're doing a small bakery cafe, go ahead and utilize slide 4. Or if you are doing a food truck, utilize slide 6. It is not necessary to do all 3 slides. So this comes preset with a walk-in cooler right here for your convenience, which is kind of nice. A storeroom, and then these traditionally are entrance and exits to the kitchen. And then this would be a back door. This is all subject to your design. Now, in order to move a piece of equipment, if I want this charbroiler, I will right-click on the charbroiler. I'm sorry. I will left-click on the charbroiler, and I will drag it to where I want it. So I left-click on the charbroiler, and I drag it to where I want it to go. If I want the charbroiler to be bigger or smaller, I can use these blue squares around the outside to drag it in any direction to resize the piece of equipment. If I find that I have made a mistake and I don't like what I have done, I can go up here to the upper left-hand corner and I can hit this undo arrow. Each time I hit it, it will erase one of my moves. Okay. Once again, to move a piece of equipment, I will go to the piece of equipment that I have chosen and I will left-click on it. Holding the mouse down and with my left finger, I will drag that piece of equipment to where I would like it to go. If I would like to rotate the piece of equipment, I will left-click on this blue dot right here, the one above the piece of equipment. I will left-click and I will spin it until I get it to where I want it. Okay? So if I've decided that I don't like it, I can come up here to the left-hand corner, hit undo, and move it back to where it goes. So that explains how to move the equipment. To view the equipment, there is a bar down here at the bottom of the screen. It's a gray bar. When your mouse goes over it, it illuminates. Left-click on it and drag it to the side to expose all of your available equipment. Once again, if you decide to insert a specific special piece of equipment, make sure that Chef Suzanne understands that and it's clearly labeled. If you would like to make structural changes to your restaurant, new walls, move doorways, it's very, very simple. So this is the rear kitchen entrance. I can click on it, or I can click on this door right here, for example. If I left-click on it, I can drag it to where I want it to go. If I don't like the direction that it's facing, I can certainly just grab a hold of that blue dot right above the doorway, and boom, I have another door. If I don't like the size of the walls or I want to move the walls around, I just click on the wall, and I can left-click on it and drag it to wherever I want it. If I want the wall bigger or smaller, I will grab the blue dot, left-click on it, move it up. I can move it down. And if I want to rotate it, I just grab the blue dot, left-click, and move it over. And once again, if I decided that I don't like it like that, I go up to the upper left-hand corner, hit the undo button, and boom, it repairs everything. So this whole thing can be changed to any type of shape or design that you see fit. The same thing will apply to the BOH for a bakery small restaurant, and also the same thing for food trucks. All of your equipment is over here on the left-hand side. Should you decide that you want multiple reach-in coolers, you're going to left click, drag the cooler to where you want it. Then you will right click on the cooler and you will hit copy. And then you will right click again and hit paste. And you can have as many reach-in coolers as you like, or as many grills as you like, or as many charbroilers or sinks. Chef Suzanne?
Looks good so far, Chef. Let me know when you're ready and I'll take over.
All right. All right. So, do we have any questions regarding this? Does everybody understand how to work the slides? Chef Suzanne, it's all you.
Awesome. Do you have the copy of the finished back of house, or can you pull that up, the back of house example from the class page? Because that's always a good one to show. And I know that there's probably some wheels turning going, wait, how do I decide what equipment I'm going to put in the kitchen? Aha, you've already done that. That was week 1. So week 1, you had to come up with your menu and then your equipment list and station map, and you had to write down what equipment you're going to need in your kitchen. That's where you're going to get that from. And so that's where you're going to start coming up in. Most of you may have forgotten some equipment. And so when you're building your kitchen and you're putting these things in and you go, oh yeah, I didn't have any refrigeration in my Garmager station. I'm going to need to adjust that. So that kind of gets you a head start. You're using that list that you created and it's based on your menu for your concept. So Chef has a great sample. This is on the class page. It says BOH example. And this is basically what you are doing based on your concept. Don't copy this one. Base it on your equipment and your concept. But you're going to put in your hot equipment. So actually, I'm going to kind of talk through the rubric if you want to leave that up, Chef. What I look for is hand sinks. So if you can see in this example, there's multiple hand sinks there. Also trash cans. So in a kitchen that big, in most kitchens, you're going to have multiple trash cans. And so those things are definitely required. We also need to have a designated dish area that is organized and efficient, right? So then this example is kind of off on that left-hand side. We probably don't want it in this particular kitchen in the back, because remember when Chef talked about we don't want our servers, right, to kind of be wandering all over, and they're going to be coming from the front of house dirty dishes. So we don't want them to have access to everything, just a little area that back of house can reach, front of house can get to. So you want to have that dish area. As far as your production area, that's where the magic happens. That's where things are getting cooked. So that's your hot equipment. They call it a hot line because typically all of your hot equipment is in a line, which makes sense, right? Hot line. All of your hot equipment is in one area. So not only is it more efficient, so all of your equipment is together, all of your staff can be together, but it also, I know Chef talked about hood vents. Those are expensive. What's a hood vent for a kitchen, Chef?
About $1,000 a foot.
That's a lot of money. That's
$20,000.
Yeah, that's one of your biggest expenses in your kitchen is your hood vent. And if you have multiple hot equipment around your kitchen, you need multiple hood vents, and you're looking at money for all of those. So you want to try and keep all of your production area kind of neat and organized and efficient. Then you're also looking at additional equipment needed to execute your menu. So refrigeration, right? So if you've got, like in that back corner, there's a stove, and if every time that cook needs to use that stove, they have to go all the way to that walk-in, that's a lot of travel time. That's a lot of footsteps, as Chef has talked about. So you want to have refrigeration very close by. You just want your staff to just be able to turn around, right? To just pivot or to reach underneath equipment in like maybe the form of a low boy, right? So you want to have plenty of refrigeration in your kitchen. You also want to have plenty of hot equipment. So if you have a menu that has 10 items on it and 8 items are deep fried, and you're going to serve 500 people a day, you're going to need more than one little bit of deep fryer. So you want to make sure you have plenty of whatever type of refrigeration you need. You also want to make sure you have prep areas. So where are things going to be assembled or ready? So that's what like all the little metal squares are all over the kitchen, or rectangles. You gotta have prep areas everywhere, whether it's for staging the dishes or prepping them ahead of time. And then also you need to plan, where is the food going to be picked up from by the staff? So you need some sort of window or pass-through or serving area. So where is the staff going to pick those things up at? And then the last thing for your assignment is your concept summary. So it seems like a lot, but if you look at this kitchen, it's really not very big. And so these are the types of things that you're looking for to go into your kitchen. You want to put them in the most logical place, right? So we don't want to have the dish machine in between the grill and the deep fryer, right? So that's not a very logical place for it. So we're going to have things where they kind of make sense. How'd I do, Chef?
Very, very well said. And Chef Suzanne is going to be referring back to your week 3 assignment where you talked about your covers. So she'll have an idea of how much business you're planning on generating out of that kitchen.
I will also be looking at week 1 with the menu and the equipment list. So if you say in your equipment list that you're going to have a deep fryer and a grill and an oven, and then on your layout you don't have a deep fryer, grill, and an oven, I'm going to notice.
Yes.
I'm a busy little beaver. I'm checking it all out
Yes.
to make sure that you've got all the information that you need to be able to build yourself a very usable, functional kitchen back of house.
Yeah, so in week 1, we mentioned that each assignment builds upon the next in this course. And so that would be the vital point of starting with week 1 in this class, because it kind of helps you understand each step along the way. So this is a really exciting assignment that we are all working on this week. So let's take a real quick look at our rubric before we wrap things up. Hand sinks, big business. Make sure you're there. 10% of the grade for this week. Waste disposal, trash cans, 10% of your grade. It's quite a bit. 20% dish area is organized. We talked about how to organize the dish area with the triple sinks, the machine, storage, etc., etc. 20% production area is organized. The production area, we were referring to that as the prep area, so very important. 30% all equipment required to execute menu is included in the design. So for example, if you have grilled steaks on your menu, you should have a grill.
Right. And plenty of refrigeration. Don't just have a grill and then where are they going to get the steaks from? You got to get it from somewhere.
Absolutely. And it is critical that you include a clear and concise summary of your concept with your submission this week. Very, very important. Does anyone have any questions?
I will hit on real quick before we take any questions. If you're doing a food truck, because I know we got some food truckers, if you are doing a food truck, all of this applies to you also. You still have to have a hand sink. You still have to have trash cans inside. You still have to have a 3-compartment sink in a designated area. You need to have all of the hot equipment, so all the production equipment, and you probably want it very close together. You want to make sure that you have plenty of refrigeration, and you want to have a prep area. You want to have that pass-through or serving area. So all of those things are required, and actually it may be even more important because you're dealing with a lot less space. So you have to have things very efficiently placed in those food trucks. So you got to think that if you only got room for 2 people in there, maybe 3, if you've got a good sized food truck, where is everything? So if you've got your fryer on one end and your cooler on the other, and then every time your cook needs to get fries, they've got to run all the way over and then run all the way back, and then they've all got to be. So you've got to think about having multiple pieces of equipment in a very small space. So you've got to think of what's most efficient for your staff, for your business.
And just an FYI for everybody, based on what Chef Suzanne is saying, the better design that you do for your kitchen this week, the easier your assignment next week will be, because we're getting into those little blue dots on the side. So ignore those for this week, all those little colored dots. You don't need to worry about that. But we will be working with those next week, and we're going to learn all about how to lay out kitchen equipment even more efficiently. So does anybody have any questions, thoughts, concerns? Ladies and gents, at the beginning of the class tonight, we mentioned that if there's something you don't understand, or if there's something that you need additional assistance with, please reach out and let us know. We are here to help you succeed. We are on your side. So take advantage of the opportunity. We will do what it takes to help you fly and move on to a successful career. I want to thank everybody for a great live session this evening, and we look forward to seeing you and hearing from you soon. Take care.